have a 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. Oh, Dave! Sorry, couldn't resist. Yeah, let's check if we're live. Back in the little studio today, guys. If you've just joined us, let's wait for some people to come on. Nice. The Book of Faces. Let's wait for a few more people to join in. If you're joining us, do say hello. As always, hey Shona, do give us a little thumbs up or a hello or a namaste, whatever you like to say, guys. But we always like to say, are we live? Right, let's just wait for a few more people to join, and then we can crack on, Dave. Dave, are we all got enough fluids? Keeping hydrated? Oh, one-man band. Oh, you can only just see me. That's weird. So yeah, can we just everyone that's on here then? Can you just confirm? Can you see Dave or not? No, Dave. They can't see you, Dave. Yeah. Okay. I will exit you out, and I'll see you in a second. Then we'll. Right, we're back in the office with tech problems again. Where's Steve this week? let me just sort you out. Right, let's have a look. I will chuck you off now, Dave, and then we'll come back. Right, remove. Hey everyone, if you just joined us, yeah, we're just trying to. We lost Dave for a sec, so we're just trying to get him back, which is mad because he is not a million miles away. Right, Dave. Yeah, just re-added Dave, and I will add you back in. But how is everyone? I hope you're all enjoying the sunny weather. Absolute scorcher, isn't it? The last sort of week. So yeah, it's. Hope you're enjoying it. Keep hydrated, because I know I was only out there for sort of half hour, 40 minutes, and it's a hot one. Right, Dave. I'm going to see if you can bring you in. Let's see if that comes in. Let's have a look. Yeah, Dave, you're showing my screen that you're still. Can anyone see Dave? Can someone just give me a little thumbs up if you can see Dave, or a little yes that you can see Dave? Just so we can see, because at the moment I can't see you, Dave. Let's have a little look.
Really weird.
It's weird because I might not be able to see you. So Dave, it looks like people can actually see you, which is strange because I can't. But as long as you guys can see him, I can see him through this little window here.
Yeah,
so Dave,
it's so weird.
It's all good, but your name's a little bit wrong, so I'm going to change it, Dave, because we wouldn't want people to get that wrong, would we?
Yeah, I think it's signing me in as Yuan, so I could log out, but I don't want that to log us both out. Do you know what I mean?
No, it's okay, mate. It's okay. We got it good. Well, I'll chuck you in anyway. So just before we continue, guys, before we crack on, can everyone see me and can everyone see Dave? Could just say yes or a no. Let's see what we can do. No way. I can see Dave. He's there now. Sweet. Awesome. All right, Dave, look, let's crack on. Apologies if you joined us for some tech issues. Yeah, it's weird, actually. Only over the last sort of couple of months, we've had some tech issues. We've always kind of been quite good, but who knows why? Who knows? Anyway, welcome to another Tuesday Tune-In. Dave, so yeah, we had a bit of fun at the Altitude Centre, didn't we?
Yeah, everyone had a bit of fun at my expense by the sounds of it. No, it was hilarious, some of those comments and stuff like that. I really enjoyed it. But yeah, no, it was a really good one, and we were wondering like what we can do today to talk about it, and we thought, well, we can follow up on it actually, because we never had a really much of a chance after we went through all of the Altitude Centre to really offer our opinion on it and to talk about it like this on a normal live.
Yeah.
What we got from it, did we glean any golden nuggets and stuff like that, and what our views on it are going forward for the mountains, and so that's what we're going to talk about today a little bit.
Exactly. No, it was a bit of a learning curve for us. I mean, obviously if you've been around the community for a while, obviously we do specialize in the high altitude trekking, but the science stuff was quite interesting. We always wanted to find out, is it worth it? Is it worth going and doing to somewhere like the Altitude Centre? And finding out some additional stats that could help, how your body is going to behave at altitude. So that was quite fascinating. And I think, we both wanted to share our kind of views on it. you know, with regards to, you know, what are the benefits, you know, maybe what are some of the negatives as well, although, you know, as you find out, there wasn't many, to be honest. But, you know, it was a good learning curve, you know, for all of us, and I hope you enjoyed it anyway. Those kind of lives, you know, just because logistically it's quite challenging, but we are going to do some further ones like that with some of our partners that we're reaching out to and trying to get live away from the office, which would be quite cool. But yeah, Dave, I mean, so altitude training then, obviously we don't want to go into too deep, but before we do, any questions, guys, do drop them in the comments, because obviously we're here to, you know, to answer those questions. So anything around altitude, anything around the Altitude Centre, because I know there was heaps last week and we were flying through them as we were trying to breathe. You know, I was breathing while I was walking. Dave was on the bike, absolutely nailing it. So yeah, any questions around last week, do drop them in again and we can answer those. But obviously any new questions as well, around anything, even if it's the Mainland Bhutans, anything like that, then do drop them in, guys. Yeah, and we can discuss them. But Dave, yeah, where should we start then? Altitude training, altitude.
So center. Yeah, it was my first time simulating altitude at sea level.
Yeah.
Or pretty much sea level. You know, we were up a flight of steps, and yeah, it was really interesting. I like, from a personal perspective, I was really looking forward to going and checking it out and seeing what their entire setup were. I mean, I should say right off the bat, you know, James and Sam, their knowledge of altitude. I mean, they've both summited Kilimanjaro, so they've sampled it for real. But the knowledge that they have is really fascinating, even from someone who knows a little bit about it. You know, I'm certainly not an expert, but I've been to altitude many times and have some experience with it. So being able to talk to those guys and actually get a bit of the background about what's going on, and it's really interesting because I can say like, well, what's happening when I feel like this? And then you can get an answer. So it's really fascinating. And just being in that room, that setup that they've got, that room that we're in, even without the masks, is at 2,700 meters, you know, so that is fascinating. You know, you're in the room and you're like, wow, I'm at 2,000, and people go in there and you can use the treadmills and you can use the bikes without the mask on, just to train at 2,700 meters, which will give you an additional benefit. So you see people in there running and, you know, doing stuff like that. But yeah, the real business is done with those masks on and those big giant airbags and stuff that you saw.
Yeah, definitely. I think that the biggest thing we learned, and you know, I think it's kind of common knowledge, but you know, good to share with everyone, is that there's definitely a difference between altitude training and training for altitude. Yeah. You know, like obviously, if you're on here now, altitude training will 100% help you with regards to, you know, building up, you know, maybe a better flow rate with oxygen in your body. Also as well, in terms of maybe creating some of those more red blood cells, you can transfer the oxygen around the body faster, which helps. It's why you see athletes and rugby players train at altitude, because it gives them benefits when they come down. But for us, it is a little bit different, because we are going to altitude, where we can train here. So the benefits really that we found are, okay, you can simulate altitude, because you can get to feel what it's like. Certainly look at your stats. You know, we were looking at obviously our oxygen percentage in the blood, so you can see that go down a bit. You can also look at the heart rate, which certainly went up, especially when we exerted ourselves. And there was definitely a correlation between that. And much like our altitude, and a big lesson for everyone is, you know, if you do feel yourself getting to that stage where you feel like you're overexerting yourself, you only just got to stop and wait a little bit, and your body will kind of find a good zone where, you know, your body's not working as hard. And that's much like our altitude, you know, which is yes, exactly the same. You know, I found that it's good to test the machines. So I did a test out with and Dave as well, where we were just, you know, we weren't moving, we were just sitting there. Although, because it was our first time, you can certainly see there's a little bit of, okay, you know, it's not anxiety, but because you're thinking about it, you know, when you're thinking about something, it always affects it, right? So once you relax and you actually just let the numbers do what they need to do, you can see some true numbers. And then when we translated that then into the chamber, and then translated that to when we were moving, obviously me on the treadmill and Dave on the bike, obviously you can see then that is exactly like our altitude, which was great to see us firsthand. And hopefully you guys sort of saw that whenever you were as well on the live. So yeah, that for me, Dave, was a big learn, you know, around how that works. And that certainly, because another question was, you know, okay, is it helpful then for people who are going to places like Everest Base Camp? Kilimanjaro, you know, Toubkal to a certain extent, maybe in the big ones like Aconcagua, Island Peak, Mera Peak, you know, Lobuche, any of these, you know, does it help? And I think certainly there's a double-edged sword here, you know, and certainly our opinions haven't changed in terms of there's no, and I think Dave, me and you are on the same, you know, the same page with this. There's nothing better than acclimatizing properly at altitude. So don't think that you can do this stuff and neglect the basics of hydration, looking after your body, keeping your mind on that positive, taking your time, you know, and enjoying yourself. You can't beat that. And you know, I don't care what anyone says. Don't forget about that. But that being said, the altitude center and what they can do can assist in helping you improve your experience of altitude. I think is our. I mean, Dave, would you any additional thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think first of all, I really like the the first big thing that we took from it, that there's altitude training for athletes that want to perform better at sea level. So there's a difference between that and what we do, and the difference is really the purpose of the training. So what they do is they train at altitude, so when they come down to altitude, they've got increased red blood cells that can carry oxygen to the muscles so they can perform better, particularly with endurance sports. What we're trying to do is make that acclimatization process easier and less fraught with sicknesses when we go to altitude. And I think in that endeavor, it is a really good addition to the mountain rules as well. So as Andy said, like hydration, monitoring your pace and stuff like that, it is really good. So although it simulates altitude, what you do at the altitude center is not what you're going to be doing when you're actually trekking. So the speed at which you saw me trekking on the bike with that, cycling on the bike with that level of exertion, and even to a degree the speed that Andy was trekking on the incline, you know, that constant go, that's training for altitude, but it's not what we'll do. When we're there, we go at a much slower pace, because one of the biggest tools that we use is not just how slowly we walk, you know, overall, but like A to B to C, we go very gradually, so we gain our altitude gradually. And if you've already done some training in the altitude center, you're going to be physically fitter. The more physically fit you are, the less you exert yourself. The less you exert yourself, the better you acclimatize. And then secondly, if you're doing quite a lot of training over there and over a longer period of time, you will build more red blood cells. That means you can carry more oxygen. That means, again, you're going to have a much less chance of experiencing altitude sickness and stuff like that when you get higher. But I'll be honest, I absolutely loved it. I mean, one of the big things for me is that it felt different breathing oxygen at that rate through the mask than how I felt when I was actually at altitude and, you know, at the summit of Kili and at Everest Base Camp. Because when you're at altitude, I can sit and talk to you like this pretty much, in Gorak Shep or on the summit of Kili, and you don't get out of breath just standing around talking. But even when you've got that mask on at 5,100 meters, because it gets physically difficult to draw breath. So you start to feel that hyperventilating feeling, which I was getting a little bit when I was on the bike. So in that last minute and a half, when I was drawing deep breaths and like emptying the bags.
Is that one of those bags where literally like, Dave, you okay?
Exactly. To be honest, I felt fine. I was a little bit gutted I didn't finish the test. But again, it's about understanding the difference between altitude training and what you need to do at altitude. So for altitude training, my blood oxygen level, because I was breathing deep, because I was exerting myself on the bike, went down to around 75. At that point, you're not going to be getting any benefit. The stress on the body outweighs any acclimatization effect. So for the purposes of demonstrating the training, we called it a day. When you're at altitude, my blood oxygen level has never dropped that low, because I've never exerted myself that much for that that level of consistency. You know, if I start to feel myself getting out of breath, then I'll slow down or stop. That's what we recommend to everyone as well. And that's what, you know, why you point about what you do on the mountain is just as important as the stuff that you do beforehand. And together you'll get a good acclimatization, but neither one. Well, I would say actually the mountain rules are probably more important: hydration and pace.
100%. You can't get away from that. You know, and chatting to the guys then, James, and you know, they do have a lot of clients that say summit some 8,000 meter peaks. maybe even climb it Aconcagua or Island Peak. And they use basically tents at home, altitude tents, so you can really build that up. Those red blood cells before you actually go on a trip, which can assist. So 100% that can help. And look, we 100%, like, honestly, it's so valuable, guys. Obviously you can sense when we were there last week, we highly recommend the Altitude Center. Definitely drop in. We're hoping to do a group trip there. I'm sure we're set up over the coming months and get back out there. If we can find a date in the schedule to get there, we'd love to, because it'd be good to see a bunch of Evertrekkers there. But without that, you obviously, if you can get down to London, if you're there for any other reason, because you don't have to be there that long, an hour or two, you can get there and you can catch up with the guys that can go through the whole process that we went through, and then you can see where you're at. And however you perform, it's good then, because you've got a base to work from. And a lot of you, knowing a lot of you on here anyway, you're active, you're out all the time. Some of you have even been to altitude. I know there's also a few newbies on here as well that maybe haven't been to altitude. So it is a kind of a new feeling. So yeah, it's good to almost sample that. But yeah, I mean, there's some good questions coming through. I know we've obviously talked about in terms of what do we how do we feel about it, what do we learn. But I think it's some good questions coming in, because I think it's worth answering them, Dave, which I know Lauren is dropping them in as well. Jerome's asked, though, how's the knee, Dave, after last week?
Oh, the knee. So yeah, to be honest, the knee's fine. I mean, I say fine. I'm actually, the last couple of days it's been niggling me. I was complaining to Andy earlier, but I'm really beginning to understand and learn. I have done a series of videos about my knee, talking mainly about the mindset of having to get over an injury and stuff. And I will start releasing them. I've got about 7 left, and I know Andy's been shouting at me to release them. And I will, I just haven't got right into it. But yeah, I mean, I was told at the beginning that it's a non-linear recovery, meaning it'll get better. And then all of a sudden you'll find yourself, worse off than you were weeks prior, and then it gets better again. And I think I'm in the bit of a, it's not as good as it was period at the moment. I'll be honest, after the Altitude Center, that was completely fine. I can pedal and bend my knee quite fast. It's more the complete extension and the complete bend that's difficult. When you're cycling, you don't get that. But no, the last few nights has been annoying me. But I'm terrified that I'm becoming one of these people now that no one's ever going to ask me how I am, because they'll just have to sit and listen to me talk for half an hour about my knee. But honestly, overall, it's fine. I can walk. It's pretty much 5 weeks post surgery now. I'm walking without crutches. I'm getting about okay. I've got pretty good extension, pretty good bend, and it's if any of you ever hurt your ACL, let me know, because I'd love to talk to you more about it. But actually, Anne, I'm going to jump to one of the latest questions that we've had.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Because it's from Jane Moody, who's said, how does the feeling compare to asthma? And I know that's something that you know a little bit about, because you've been to altitude, you've got asthma, and you've been to the Altitude Center. So I'm going to take this one. And,
yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah, no, Jane, it's a good question, and I know we've done a whole live just around asthma, actually, which I think was called "Take My Breath Away" for some reason. Love that song in the 80s. But yeah, definitely have a look at that one. But I suppose one thing, asthma, it feels exactly the same when you're at altitudes as it does sea level for me. I know that it affects different people depending on the seriousness of your asthma and how you're medicated. If you just use the preventative, or you use the one if you're having a bit of difficulty. But one thing I learned from the Altitude Center, it's exactly the same. You don't feel like a restricted breathing, so it feels like you're taking in the same amount, like you're breathing in the same. It's just obviously within that breath that you're taking, it's just there's less oxygen in it. So it's not like say you're a scuba diver, and as you go deeper, it takes you've got to really suck that air in. It's not like that. It feels exactly the same. It's just you're breathing more. And so for instance, if you go in steeper, like you go in steeper in the UK, or whatever you are, if you're walking up a steep hill, you'll be breathing more because your body needs more oxygen to keep going, right? So it's that same process. So yeah, it doesn't really feel any worse. And actually, it was quite interesting to hear, speaking to James, that because I think asthmatics and maybe their lungs are used to being restricted, or something to do with it. And even James, we were having a chat about it, and there's mixed opinions on this, but for some reason asthmatics tend to do well at altitude. I was quite happy to hear that. And my stats have always been pretty good over the years at altitude. So but everyone's physical makeup is different, so you can get lucky, of course. But yeah, the feedback I had from him was that it could be a correlation there between asthmatics doing well at altitude.
Yeah.
People have climbed Everest who are asthmatics.
Mogens Jensen is a climber. If you look up him, Mogens Jensen, he tried to do it without oxygen 3 times, I think, and then finally summited with oxygen. Asthma is one of those things I've only learned about because you've had it, really. I mean, but we did ask him, didn't we? Because we asked him as well. We've heard this. It's almost like an old wives' tale now that smoking is beneficial for altitude. Where the one thing I will say about smoking, because I did ask him that question, because I'd like a definitive answer, and he said there's 2 things at play. The first is there's a similar mechanism where smokers are perhaps used, like asthmatics, to absorbing less oxygen per breath anyway. So the transition from sea level to altitude might be easier for those guys. However, this is where it differentiates from asthma, is that all the negative side effects you get from smoking that affect other aspects of your health completely outweigh any positives you get. Asthmatics, not so. You can be perfectly fit and healthy and still reap the benefits. So yeah, maybe I'll see if I can figure out a way to get asthma.
No, don't, mate, don't. Trust me. Go on, Dave.
Yeah, I know. I was just going to dive straight in, mate. But
Well, no, great question, Jane. I hope that answers your question. I know you've pinged there, learned how to relax when breathing. Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, any time your body is under pressure, at altitude, wherever you are, if you're ever in that moment that you're feeling stressed or anything, just it sounds mad, and this is just something that I've used. I was quite a big scuba diver back in the day, and for me, first time I ever dived with a whale shark is quite a powerful moment for me. And I don't know why, when I was doing some free diving or trying to help with my lungs, I'd try and reduce my heart rate and calm down. So I always used to go back to that moment of me. That was just one of many, but that was certainly a moment for me that was impact on my life, just in terms of the experience of it. So think about that. If you're ever going through a difficult time and you're trying to get that breath in, you're trying to maybe calm yourself down a bit, just go to that good place and think about it a bit more, let it fill you up, and it does have an impact in your heart rate. Just constantly think about it. It's something completely different, but I thought I'd share that with you, Jane.
Yeah.
And all the Evertrekkers on here as well.
So we got a little message from. Actually, I just want to do one thing quickly. Someone messaged me last night saying they couldn't get it, so I just want to say hello to Julie Dallow. Hello, Julie. Hope you're enjoying this.
Julie,
re-watch or listen. But now, so Joel's done a message. I'm like Dave. Wow, sorry about that. And always struggle to keep myself super hydrated, unless it's beers, of course. From last week's tune-in, it seems the lack of hydration is the main that you suffer altitude. Is the main reason you suffer altitude sickness. Is this true? Yes, it is true. So yes, I run pretty hot when I'm hiking, so I'll always have less clothes on than perhaps Andy or maybe another person. I'm constantly conscious of the fact that I need to be replacing that fluid, especially when I'm at altitude. I mean, you can get away with it at sea level, although it's not recommended hydrating yourself in any aspect. But at altitude, you really are like, the moment you dehydrate yourself, you stop acclimatizing. So then you've only got a number of hours then before you start getting headaches and feeling unwell, particularly if you continue gaining your altitude. So what happens is you seem to see people suffer on certain days. So when they get to Namche, when they get to Tengboche, and if they can get past those kind of 2 points, they're okay. And I don't think that it's a surprise that to get up to Namche, you've got to walk up Namche Hill. It's a long day and it's often quite hot because you're at lower altitude. So I don't think it's a coincidence that those people get there, perhaps haven't drunk enough, haven't replaced those fluids, and then wake up the next day feeling like, oh, I've got altitude sickness. And then then they're okay for a little while, and then they might go up to Tengboche, which is another big climb, and then they feel ill again. So what I tend to do is just bring things to make it a little easier. So squash, hydration salts, which I'll usually save for the end of the day to, have a liter of water with some hydration salts in there. And yeah, so I'll usually start the day with about 1.5 liters in my water bladder, and I have to drink that by lunch, and then I'll fill up again at lunch, and then I have to drink that by the end of the day. So that's 3 liters right there, not including cups of teas. And then I'll usually drink another liter, sort of between the end of finishing and going to sleep. So that's 4 liters a day, plus teas and stuff like that. It can easily jump up to 5 liters. So that's what I do, and I break it down like that. Otherwise, you know, you're playing with dice, really. You know.
Yeah, we talk about all the time, Dave, don't we? And we certainly had a chat with James and Sam at the Altitude Centre, and Nick as well. Forgot to mention Nick, who we met there, who also works at the Altitude Centre. It's certainly around hydration. I say 9 times out of 10, if there's evacuation, which is very rare, or someone maybe just gets to Gorak and then can't quite make base camp, or the same on Kili, you know, you might reach maybe Stellar Point, but you can't really get any higher, or, you know, basically not quite go the full distance. Most of the time it's down to hydration or lack of hydration. You know, so yeah, I know it seems like we're an old record here playing every week, but it's because we, you know, you get the basics right at altitude, it certainly makes your life a hell of a lot easier, guys.
I mean, even if you do the Altitude Centre and you do that for a long time, and then you go to altitude, if you don't drink enough, game over. Still, there's no substitute for it, and there's no way around it. So you have to drink a lot of water, keep hydrated.
And you've got to see it as a challenge, haven't you, Dave? Like just see, okay, right, I'm gonna, okay, I know I got this challenge to get to where I'm going to get to today, but see drinking the water as a challenge itself, as much as getting to the end of the day. Just as important, you know, if you had a priority list, stick it right next to getting to the way you're going to get to. You make sure it's your priority list, so you can mentally kind of accept, okay, right, you know, I need to hit those numbers in terms of almost like a system. And a couple of weeks ago, we caught up with Paul Fosh, which is coming out very soon on the podcast around. He always talks about systems, and he kind of he does ultra marathons in quite remote parts of Alaska, Canada, and also other areas. And for him, it's all about systems. So he's got a system for eating. He's even got a system for going to the toilet. But yeah, if you can think of a system for water, so okay. And I know it seems like boring, you know, because you want to enjoy yourself, don't you? You want to try and not be thinking about, okay, and be robotic about it all. But even if you can have a system for hydration at altitude, so you know that before lunch you can have it, like Dave said, like 1.5 liters. Just make sure you achieve that. You know, because you can even pick this up and just neck 500 milliliters straight off, right? You know, pretend it's a beer, whatever you need to do, get that water down you. Like Dave said, you can have a bit of squash, put it in, so you can drink it. You know, no systems, I think, you know, sometimes you do it subconsciously and you're fine, but if you can consciously think about it, it will improve your experience at altitude every time.
Exactly.
Right, I've got a few questions. I think one came in on the email. It's for Jackson Griffith. Sadly, won't be able to make the Q&A, but I saw your recent Altitude Centre piece. Occasional alpinist yourself. So basically, just it's a bit of a long question, so I'm going to shorten it a bit. He wants to know the difference between sort of sleeping at altitude or at home, and which one would be interested in your views. Which one is more beneficial? I think. Yeah, it depends on what you're going to do, Jackson. I'd say, you know, if you go into altitude, and like say on Everest Base Camp trip or Kili, or you know anything over say 4,000 meters, you know, there's no question in my mind that, you know, it's just all about the acclimatization while you're there. In terms of getting the benefit, if you were, say you went from Everest Base Camp and did it, and then flew to, I mean, this would be awesome, right? But imagine then you flew all the way over to Tanzania, knowing that you've just come from Everest Base Camp and you've already been up to 5,000 meters and you're already acclimatized. You're going to be acclimatized on Kili too. So yeah, if you can, it depends how close it is before you go. So for instance, in say the weeks leading up to a trip, if you happen to be at 3,500 meters, maybe because you're in the Alps, or you know, you can do that. That's going to have significant impact when you're on say you know, another high altitude trek, because you've already acclimatized to that height. As well as that, then obviously you've got the tents and things like that, which can build up your red blood cells. Obviously, if you're sleeping in those tents, but still, you're going to have times where you're also living your daily life outside of that tent. So for me, I think if you go into altitude itself would be more beneficial if it's just literally in the week or two before you go.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it doesn't, like, speaking to the guys like James, and we were talking about, how long would you do it before you were going to, say, altitude? Then, and he was talking kind of like in the months build up to it. They can say, okay, if you came to the altitude center, if you live closer, you can go there for a certain time, take the body up to, say, 5,000 meters, let the body breathe and do some exercise there. And your body will kind of adjust. The same as then they can give the altitude tents that you can take home. And that does the same thing, but to a bigger extent, but not as much as if you were sleeping there. So yeah, it depends on kind of what your goal is. But yeah, interested, Jackson, to hear your story, mate, and where you're thinking of going. Obviously, we'd love to help that journey. Just drop us a message.
One thing that is quite funny, Parisha Patel here has asked if there's any good spots for a pedicure on the way up. I'm assuming she meant pee, just judging by yeah, she has. So, but yeah, that tells me a lot about her autocorrect and how many pedicures she gets. But yeah, there are loads of options to do that. So at least 3 times a day, when you start, when you have lunch, and when you finish. But also large rocks, vegetation, hiding places and stuff like that. So yeah, loads of places for that.
Loads.
Yeah, so another one, Jerome has asked about salt. So yeah, when we talk about hydration, sorry, we perhaps should be a little bit more specific. We do mean complete rehydration and not just drinking water. So replacing those lost electrolytes, salts and things like that. So that's why we'll usually, I said about the hydration salts, the electrolyte tablets that I'll have at the end of the day. That is to replace all of that I've lost during from sweating. So yeah, lots and lots of water, but also you'll eat food as well, and you'll get a lot of salt from the food you eat. So normally it's not that much of a problem. But yeah, I do think replacing lost electrolytes and salts and stuff is really important.
And Joel has asked, salty crisps enough? Maybe. I'm not too sure, mate. I think the electrolytes, Joel, will probably be better than salty crisps. You know what? If those crisps make you feel better mentally, why not? Eat them. Get them down.
Yeah. Gavin says, looking for advice to help train legs for going downhill. Legs get very sore, especially calves after a few days on a hike. Looking forward to training the weekend in September. So first of all, the September weekend training, I don't think is happening anymore. So drop me an email. Second one is with regards to downhill. First thing I would ask is, are you using poles? If not, get some. They take quite a lot of the impact out of the legs and stuff like that. Second one I would look at is, what really changed it for me was changing the boots and insoles and stuff like that I wear. I used to have a lot of trouble going downhill. I still don't like it that much, but I've got a lot better since I've started using those boots, Meindl Boutans and the Superfeet Trailblazer insoles. You may have to get some custom insoles made, some orthotics and stuff like that, but it shouldn't be that much of an issue. It tells me that if your calves are getting really sore, there's something wrong beneath the calves that your calves are compensating for. And I think poles and maybe changing your boots and stuff like that would be good. Other than that, just build up your calves and strength muscles by doing, like calf lifts and leg exercises. And to be honest, there's no substitute from just getting out in the mountain and walking up and down hills and strengthening them that way. Getting mountain fit is what we say.
Exactly.
So
Dave.
that's what I'd recommend.
Yeah, it is one of those. Sometimes you're going to ache. You're going to feel, those legs are going to ache regardless of how fit you are. It's just going to happen, mate. But yeah, single leg movements is really good. So for instance, if you've got like as Dave said, that you got like a weighted press, but even if you did like weighted lunges, they're going to be really, really good for your legs. But yeah, always the same, get out if you can. Even if you haven't got any mountains near you, just get the miles in before you go. And that honestly pay dividends when you're out there.
Yeah.
But all of this training, don't think you have to be He-Man or Superwoman, guys. You don't. It helps, and you'll have a far more enjoyable time the fitter you are. But spend time on the other stuff as well as fitness. Get your mind in the right place. Certainly think about what you're going to do when you're out there. Enjoy yourself. It's a trip away. You guys worked hard for this trip. Some of you are doing it for loads of different types of reasons. Think about why you're there. Also, I don't want to sound like I'm not saying what to train, but just cover the other stuff as well. Because you don't have to be super fit to get to these places. It helps. Chrissy Leyland. Chris, I think he's asked at the beginning there, what's the crack with travel to and from Nepal? Are any treks going ahead this year? So yeah, Chrissy, if you've been around the community for a while, it's we haven't run any trips in Nepal since March last year. So yeah, we're hoping that this autumn will go ahead. Although we are recommending anyone that's booked in Nepal, Tanzania, or South America in the autumn to reschedule. This isn't, that is just a recommendation, because it's still on the red list. Although the vaccinations are going well in Nepal, there's still a lot of other things that the British government seem to be worried about. But we know as much as you guys. We're hoping to run those trips, but it is very 50-50 at the moment.
Yeah.
Some people are choosing to wait. Other people, want to plan ahead and be a bit more ready for it, and look into, looking ahead to next year when we've got dates up until the end of 2024. So, if you want the full experience, when we're able to get back trekking to Nepal, then certainly look beyond this autumn if you're not already booked. We've had a few people who requested to move to their trip to this autumn, and we've said, look, we're not going to do that at the moment, because we've got a lot of people booked in already who we've recommended to move, but we don't want to move anyone to that date at the moment, just because it's we're just not doing that. It's very difficult to, and it's been a challenge for 18 months now as an adventure travel company to kind of definitively say, okay, this one's 100% running, because they change the rules every week, But we are being as flexible as we can, aren't we, Dave? And certainly with all of our trips. I mean, the one that we're fingers crossed we're hoping to run is the one in Morocco next month, and that's really looking forward to running that one. Dave, I know you've been working hard with team over in Morocco to obviously make that happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I'll be sending out some emails during this week to the people that are due to go in August.
Yeah,
which I think is like a month today. There are some challenges that we're working out, so we still haven't got all the answers as I sit here today. But working, that's pretty much my what I was doing before this, and what I'll be doing after is looking into that. So it is an interesting one. Travel at the moment is obviously crazy and difficult. The UK is going through a period of change as well with regards to its regulations. I mean, who knows how that'll affect the world around us and what will happen. What I wouldn't give for some, surety, but it is what it is. Yeah. I think, moving on to the other questions as well. George Palmer, you've asked quite a few, so let's see if I can do a quick fire. Do you lose weight on an EBC trip? Yes, you can. Depends how much you eat, I guess. But if you just stick to a normal sort of eating regimen, you're going to be trekking for 11 days in a row for 5 to 8 hours a day. So yes, you should lose weight. I do know people that don't lose weight because they'll smash, 52 dal bats over those 11 days. So it does make a difference. Do your feet get wet? No, not really. You'll be crossing over those streams and rivers with bridges. So I've never ever got wet feet on my way to Everest Base Camp, except for the very, very last day, getting back to Lukla one time. And you remember that when the heavens opened on us.
Beautiful Welsh weather.
Yes.
Well, monsoon weather actually, so it was a bit worse, but it was awesome, yeah.
Yeah, it was like rushing back to get to Lukla for a plane that we knew was never going to arrive.
Yeah, that's it. His weather is pretty bad. Yeah, exactly, Dave. And yeah, going back to the weight, what you said there, Dave, around losing weight. Yeah, I always think about it in this. If you've got a bit of weight to lose, you'll lose it. If the people who are quite lean, they don't tend to lose weight. From what we've experienced, the people who haven't got much meat on the bone, they won't lose much weight. But the people who have, carrying a bit of timber, then you will lose weight. I mean, for example, the first time I ever went to Everest Base Camp, beginning of 2016, I lost about a stone. So clearly I had some to lose. It was certainly an experience. But because you're burning so many calories every day, because your body's working so hard. So yeah, you will lose weight at altitude if you've got it to lose.
Yeah, it's funny. I've gone the other way, which tells you a lot about my direction. So the first time I ever went to altitude, I lost nothing. Then the second time, maybe half a stone. And then the next time, maybe a stone. So it all depends. But if you eat dalbat and you eat tons and tons of dalbat, then because dalbat is the one thing. Little top tip actually, if you are really, really hungry for lunch. Order a dalbat, because they always chuck you seconds and thirds. There's always so much of it going around that you'll get extras. Where if you order just another meal, you'll just get one. So yeah, if you're starving, dalbat power, 24-hour, no sleep, no shower.
I've heard that for a while, Dave. Well done.
Yeah.
It was just going through the questions. Jules asked again, will the porters remind us to keep hydrated? No, it's more of, I mean, the porters will be kind of off with your bags. It's more the guides and the assistant guides that are kind of reminding you to sort of, you know, to keep drinking. But, you know, look after it yourself. And also, you know, the team members do it. So the other people in your group will be kind of nudging, you know, how you get on with your water, and, you know, ask around as well, you know, how you doing? You know, yeah, if I was with you, Joel, I'd say, how you doing with the water, you know, and then you can have a little look. And I was like, okay, right, I'll try and smash 500 mils before you do, and next thing you know, you both drunk 500 mils, right?
Yeah.
Have a little play with it. You know, so yeah, when it comes to your guides, can, you know, they're not always holding your hand. You know, you've got to be responsible for it yourself. You know, so do have, as I go back to those systems and going back to that challenge of trying to drink that much water. I know it's hard. It is, because naturally I think, geez, I've got to drink all that, you know. But just think about the challenge. Get into where you want to get to. You do that, it's going to make that happen. So get it done.
Yeah, exactly.
And you'll be fine, Joel.
Exactly. Jerome has asked, is the dalbat at each tea house different recipe? Largely the same recipe, but made slightly differently with slightly different ingredients. I would say most of them are pretty much the same, although you do get, they are a little bit different, but pretty much the same. And then every now and then you'll stop at a tea house that'll just do some outstanding, like way better than anything you've had before. My personal favorite is in Kathmandu, when you get the big dalbats with chicken and stuff like that. And
Dave, don't you're missing that now? Jeez.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then maybe a side of momos as well. You know, it's like that's my absolute favorite. To be honest, I'll use dalbat if I know I've got maybe a big day the next day or something like that. Maybe base camp day, I might have some dalbat. But most of the time, to be honest, I find it a bit too much, man. I just feel stuffed. And that's the one thing people are concerned about, is the food. And I will say, just trust me, you will not go hungry on an EBC trip. I mean, the same with Kili as well.
Any trip,
we've talked a lot about Kili, EBC, but really Kili is, you know, is equally as popular. And the food situation is a little different on there. So it's all catered for you and cooked for you. So it is possible to eat meat on Kilimanjaro by the way it's provided. But there's a good mixture there. They do provide like Western foods more than perhaps any local dish. The main reason is because when people get altitude sickness, they tend to, or not altitude sickness even, when people go to altitude, and you know, you've suffered with this a little bit, you lose your appetite, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's one of the only things I ever feel. I mean, you need to keep your energy up, so you've got to force that down you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and Dave's like, come on, Andy, come on, you got to eat your food now.
Yeah, like well, that's because Andy knows I'm like a hawk, you know. So like, I'll be sat there like, you're gonna eat that, Andy, because if you don't, I'll have it. And then Andy's like, no, I'll have it. Yeah, but also like, so Andy I know brings like, you know, chocolate bars. I bring chocolate bars, but also having like choosing some food that's familiar. So we, even in the lodges in Nepal, there'll be like, you know, French fries and fried rice and pizzas. Although I'd stay away from the pizzas, and other Western things that are familiar. And the reason that they're there is not because they're, you know, they're just trying to offer you a variety. It's because they know that while you're at altitude, something familiar that you can just force in, like a slice of pizza or fried rice or something, is just is good. Weirdly, the Tanzanian stuff. Remember, they made us a big load of Tanzanian porridge one morning, and I think most of it got left.
It's one of those, isn't it? It didn't go down that well, but it was obviously good for you. But you always look for that comfort food, and you know, something nice and easy. I think some of us went for like the omelette or eggs, or they even had some sausage there, which is quite nice.
Pancakes.
Pancakes, I mean, there's no, you never go hungry. It's just that it's that battle between feeling hungry and then almost then literally hitting a wall, and then you don't want to eat because you're maybe not feeling too well, and you're like, geez, but it looks so good, you know, and you've got to force that down to keep the energy up.
It is funny though, the difference, you know, going back to the altitude, like how people react differently. Because me and you, we live pretty much an identical lifestyle, you know, and then we go to altitude, and then I'll maybe have problems that you don't have. Like, I think I get more headaches than you get.
I hardly get headaches,
but I do get one because of the change in air pressure. So quite often I'll get a little headache. To be honest, it's nothing. I don't even, you know, I'm so used to it now. But one of the things, like, I'll notice Andy will have a bit of food, and I'll look at him, I'll say, struggling, is it, mate? And he's like, yeah. You know, where me, I'm like, I'm just on auto shovel. I could just keep putting food in, like, you know, it just never, even when, and strangely, when I know.
You're a machine with food, Dave. I can't beat that.
Well, my nickname in high school was the Seagull because I never chewed anything. It just in hole gone, in hole gone.
Wow, so, that is. I want people to remember that now, so we can call that. How's Seagull?
Yeah, it's like, you know, when you see if you threw a bit of food to a seagull, the way it kind of just gets it. Well, I'm like the Seagull, and also hovering around looking for stuff, you know. But like, I don't know. Yeah, that's why I got a few extra, planks of timber to shift. You know, so.
You need a base camp trip, mate. That's what you need.
I'm trying.
I know, right? Yeah, we can't wait to get there. Yeah, a few more questions around the altitude center, guys. Just want to sort of cover off. I think a few people have asked around going there for consultation. Don't forget, if you do get in touch with the altitude center, obviously mention Evertrek, and I think you get 30% off the consultation, which we did. So definitely do that. We are going to be looking at sort of a group, getting a group there. I say there's nothing to book yet, nothing like that. That's something in the work in progress. I think for now, if you do want to go and sort of catch up with them yourselves, if you are booked on a trip with us, don't forget in the members area, you can fill in the little there's a little form there from the altitude center, and they can get back in touch. So definitely look at that, because I think Jerome, you were looking at maybe going there. I know obviously it'd be great to see you and meet you and go part of a group. That'll be quite cool. I think Diane, you mentioned around potentially going there, but obviously it's going to be quite difficult to go down there for the kind of follow-up consultation. Sometimes, yeah, even just seeing where you're at, is good. I know the follow-up consultation would be worth it, but even if you can just get down there once, I think would really help you. I know that you haven't spent a lot of time at altitude, and you've got quite a few trips booked in, so it will be valuable just to know where you're at. But personally, with altitude, Diana, I think you've got a mindset and the fitness to be strong at altitude. So yeah, just be confident when it comes to altitude. Obviously, look at the stats as well. But from what we've learned, and from all the people we've taken to altitude, you kind of get a correlation between what works and what don't, and you'll be fine. You'll do great. But obviously, I know if you want to do that and get the consultation, go for it. Just gives you a little peace of mind, Yeah, it's not going to hurt. Certainly not going to hurt. Right, Dave. Any other questions, mate? I know we've covered a lot already.
We've kind of fallen into a food life, So yeah, but no. Yeah. So but no, not seeing too much at the moment in terms of excess questions. So we might have actually completed altitude.
Completed
it. Yeah.
Actually, James makes a very good question and very important question. Will there be hydration after? I presume then, in terms of the altitude center, and James, we like to hydrate, and yeah, we have found a very nice watering hole not far away from the altitude center.
That lovely one, like down Yali. Yeah, that was great. That was. They did a lovely cheeky little pint. But
they did. Timothy, it was quite nice, yeah.
Oh, Diane also asked if any of us will be at the Snowdonia one. Probably not, Diane, to be fair. The Snowdonia Explorer, there are some few people booked on. I think there's 4 or 5 people booked onto that one now.
Yeah.
But sadly, myself, Andy, and a few others. I mean, I can anyway. I'm infirmed. But no, not this one. Maybe one in the future, but it's a little bit hard to plan around at the moment. But yeah, and I think someone's asked about milk as well. Is there milk on the trips? Yes, there is.
Yes.
So Kilimanjaro is powdered milk, and in EBC and other places like that, it can be milk, fresh local milk, I guess. To be honest, I tend not to have it. I just stick to black coffee and black tea and stuff like that.
No, I like my coffee and milk, or milk coffee. Depends where you go. It's advertised differently.
Yeah.
If you're in Nepal, they can suddenly do it as coffee with milk, and then the next place will be milk with coffee. And you're wondering, is that different? Sometimes they're on the same menu, and it'll be milk with milk coffee, and it'll be coffee with milk. But anyway, it's coffee, and it's lovely. Keeps you going. Will there be hydration? They're just going. Jerome's asked about Toubkal November. Yeah. So Jerome, when we're talking about rescheduling for the autumn, so I mentioned that was only Nepal, Tanzania, and South America. So when it comes to Morocco at the moment, looking feasible to run those trips, which means the ones in November will go ahead. Obviously, anything there is impacted, mate, we'll let you know around that one. Yeah, because we'll be obviously I'm out in Morocco myself in November. So yeah, I'm really confident about that. But like anything, this time last year we were also feeling the same. I mean, I hope so, guys. I can't wait to get back to the mountains. I know we've planned as much as we can in the interim, and I know we started doing these lives right at the beginning of lockdown, and we're still going, but and we'll still continue them. But yeah, I can't wait to actually get back to doing the stuff that we love in the mountains, and I know you guys want to do the same as well. Yeah, there's a couple more questions, Dave. Any more come in? I'm just scooting through the.
So having a quick look.
Yeah.
I did see one that came in. What was I looking at now?
I think I've got one here, Dave.
Yeah, crack on, mate. You do it because
It's from Lisa. Is there an alternative milks if you can't take dairy milk? Yes. So we do. We do get some people who are obviously gluten intolerant. Maybe they can't have dairy. Certain allergies, things like that, or even choices they don't want to have the dairy stuff. And we can cater for that as long as you let us know. We can brief the guides and they can speak with the places that you go in to make sure that there's an alternative for you. If that's the case. I mean, sometimes because you are in a remote region, sometimes I might have to be brought in. So if there's anything that you kind of use normally, obviously Lisa, drop us a message, info@evertrek.co.uk. We can obviously talk in more depth around that for your trip. But yeah, we can always cater for people who have certain requirements 100%. So I know we got a lot of the community that's quite a lot of gluten intolerant. I think we even got a couple of people who are celiac as well. So yeah, we want to make sure that we cover all bases for that. And we've had people before who have had serious allergies, and we've managed it. They did have a carer team come with them who brought quite a lot of the stuff they used, but we always try and cater for that as much as we can within reason in the remote regions, without taking the kitchen sink up. But we'll obviously try and accommodate as much as we can. Yeah,
because we have a lot of vegans, don't we? The veganites. So there is a lot of stuff like that that we can accommodate for. Parisha has asked, are momos available at all the tea houses in Nepal?
Oh, yes.
Pretty much, yeah. It's like dal bhat. If dal bhat is the national dish of Nepal, momos came a close second. I love them. They're amazing. Are they gluten free? Don't know. Not sure about momos, to be honest. I would probably say no. But just struggle through. They're awesome. They're worth it.
Yeah, they are really nice. If you're able to eat them, they are really nice. They always give us a little bit of curry sauce, which is quite nice as well. And I think at altitude, you always go back to the basics, especially someone like me who might lose appetite at altitude. The kind of things that I want to eat, I'll get some chips, so basically like fries, and some momos, because I'll know, momos and fries. I just nail that down, keep the energy going, get those carbs in, and yeah, it's perfect. But Dave, right? Well, I know we're coming towards the end now. I mean, it's been really good just to talk about last week because I thought it was really valuable. I'd say, Dave, what would be your biggest learn about the Altitude Centre from last week? Was anything?
I think my biggest learn is that whether or not you're going there just for an initial consultation or whether you're planning on using the Altitude Centre regularly, is the education that you get from it is the most valuable thing. That they say, knowledge dispels fear. I really truly believe that. We talk about altitude a lot, and it's the number one thing that people get anxious about. But the more educated you are on the subject, the less anxious you will be. So regardless of what the numbers say, being at altitude is always different, and having the knowledge of what altitude is, how your body's reacting to it, so you're not surprised by anything, really does get rid of the fear, gets rid of the anxiety, so you can just go forward and enjoy what you've gone there to do. So that's probably my biggest learn from it overall, is regardless of what you're going there for, the education that you'll get is the most valuable thing.
Yeah, certainly. I think it certainly reminded me, again, like you said, Dave, about knowing those things, about altitude, and it certainly dispels all those any fears or things around altitude. I think because once you go to altitude, you realize actually it's okay. It's not as maybe hard as you think it is. It sometimes can be, depending on where your body's at. Don't get me wrong. It can be very challenging, guys. But sometimes, those little fears and those anxious feelings do dissipate when you've gone to altitude the first time. Because then the next time you go, you already know what it's like, and it's a lot easier, and you have a better time because you're enjoying it. So yeah, certainly for me, going to the Altitude Centre, seeing that, it's good to see the numbers too, to maybe give you a bit of confidence. of how your body reacts to getting less oxygen to your body. That's always good to see. I think that gives you a bit of peace of mind. And also as well that, you know, if you want to, you can sort of lean on them. You know, they have got other things like the altitude tents you can use at home if you're not, you know, close to London. And yeah, and who knows, they might be opening others around the UK. You never know.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens with that. But yeah, guys, I hope everyone's enjoyed this week's anyway. Just before we go, I will get Lauren to put the competition link in, because we've got the running the Kilimanjaro competition at the moment, which we've I think it's a week today we're announcing the winner. So yeah, if you haven't got yourself involved yet, Lauren, if you can pop the link into the comments, please. Get yourself in. I know a lot of you are already in. Some of you are already on that Kili trip, but don't forget you can use anything after this, and you know, anything that comes off the back of it on any trip. But do get yourself involved. And I think next week as well, we have got some exciting news around another new trip that we're excited to launch. So yeah, can't wait for that. But I hope you've enjoyed it, Dave. Yeah, sounds good, mate. It's been a great live as always.
Yes, mate. Yeah, really enjoyed this one. Really enjoyed it. You know, it's really good to, I think, to do a bit of a deep dive after the altitude center. And yeah, it's also really good because our scheduling kind of gets moved around from COVID. So we were supposed to be at the altitude center today.
Yeah, so it was.
So it's only right that we, you know, we brought it forward due to scheduling. But yeah, awesome, guys. Yeah, no, really enjoyed that. Obviously, any questions, anything you want to know, drop us a message. Always happy to help.
Yeah, nice one, guys. Okay, well, have an awesome week. Don't forget to put the sun cream on, because I know it's burning out there.
Scorchio.
Yeah, Scorchio. Keep hydrated as always. And yeah, we'll see you next Tuesday.
See you guys. Bye.
Adios.